Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Movie and a Haunt. I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige.
And today we're talking about the never-ending story of 2006 Silent Hill. We started this at 8 a.m. It's currently 11.
We're just starting to record now.
We're at 11. Oh, man, this movie.
Hey, it's one of your favorites.
It was.
It
until
was?
We got to... It was until you're like, Ryan, can you scroll over real quick? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then we realized that we're only 40 minutes into a 2-hour movie. And we felt like we should have been an hour and 40 minutes into a 2-hour movie. Let's talk about the trailer.
Sure. The trailer was 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So each second was 1 minute of this movie length, like in comparison. The trailer's good. It doesn't show the monsters, which I like. A lot of exposition dump, which is a negative for me in the trailer, but I get it. People don't. If you've never played the video games like myself, you kind of want to know what's going on. And but it was long. It was a long trailer.
It wasn't even. I think it was just like I was like, wow, that trailer was so short. And it's just because we watched a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. In comparison, it was short.
So long.
Yeah.
God, this movie is so. There were moments where you're like, okay, we should be getting there. And then it was like, we have 40 minutes left. And you're like, how the fuck are we padding out 40 minutes?
Like, we start strong. We start great. The pacing, amazing in the beginning. I feel like they wrote this movie with the first 45 minutes in mind. And then we're like, fuck, we did nothing with the story. Shit.
Like, it's like halfway through the movie. It's like, oh, yeah, so there's like a cult here, I guess?
Yeah.
We have a cult? Christabella?
Question: the people with the gas masks, are those in the game?
If they are, they're probably in the game post this movie.
Got it.
They're like, oh, that was a cool idea. And then they put it in.
Okay.
This movie, Jesus Christ, had a 9-minute exposition dump through flashback at the end.
Alone.
It had a 9-minute expo dump.
Alone.
And then it had like a little aside and it was like, guess what? More expo.
You didn't know what the fuck was going on this entire time? Don't worry about it. We got you covered in the last 20 minutes.
And I was like, and then they show us the expo dump. I'm like, it doesn't help.
It didn't help at all. I'm like,
all.
I feel like they thought that their audience was stupid because I think they explained it enough with, you know, a little bit of flashbacks here and there or like them describing what happens to the characters. But then they were like, no, let's put it on screen so they know exactly. They don't have to have any guessing work.
But little did they know, they were the idiots all along.
But yeah, let's just do it, I guess.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's do this.
Rose De Silva and her husband Christopher, played by Sean Bean, who lives.
Crazy concept. I've never seen him in any type of film or TV show where he lived, I think.
Silent Hill. Even where the weirdest stuff happens. Are disturbed by their adopted daughter, Sharon's constant sleepwalking and nightmares about Silent Hill, a town in West Virginia that is abandoned in the 1970s due to a massive coal seam fire. Jesus.
That's the movie. That's it. Are we done?
That's
We're done, right? We're good? Cut?
No, we don't have Christabella. We don't have Gucci.
You're right. That's true.
Gucci. We don't have Cybil. Mommy
Cybil.
Ugh.
Yes.
This movie ends an hour and 28 minutes in when she's no longer like reoccurring character.
Very true. Very true.
Desperate for a solution, Rose takes Sharon. She doesn't take her. She like kidnaps her own daughter. I was like, you can just tell your husband, hey, I'm taking her to the fucking city, dude. Except she's like, no. I'm going to leave a Google tab up for my husband to see.
Now, do you remember back in the day, early 2000s, when, or I think even late 90s, movies and television shows would use internet searches as expo dumps. I've not missed that at all.
Yes, I remember that very well. It was always the movies that had to deal with like supernatural bullshit.
Yeah.
It felt like.
I think they even did it in Scream 2 when she was in college. Remember in the library?
I thought that was because she got the instant message and she was like,
maybe.
ah!
Yeah.
And then Cotton's like, hey, so I've been done twiddling my thumbs for the last 45 minutes. Here to make a cameo.
True.
How you doing? She takes her to Silent Hill. Her erratic behavior concerns police officer Cybil Bennett, which I will acknowledge. If I was Cybil, I'd be like, yeah, you're acting really fucking weird,
Yeah,
yo.
and your daughter's acting super, like, sketch, too. Yeah, I get it.
When they encounter her at a petrol station en route. So we know this was written by an English person or someone from the UK.
Yeah.
Thank you, UK, for this very extensive Wikipedia article. As they enter Silent Hill, a girl steps out into the road, causing Rose to crash and black out. Is it a girl or was it? I thought it was the lady.
No, it was, what's her name? The evil.
Alyssa?
Yeah, thank you.
She awakens in the fog, shrouded dimension of Silent Hill and realizes that Sharon is missing. Cue 5 minutes of her screaming Sharon.
That's it. Walking around, running around.
You sat there and went, you know, RJ, I have a thing to tell you. This movie, the producers loved it so much that they said none of it has to be cut. And I'm like, really? 5 minutes of yelling Sharon doesn't have to be cut from this bullshit?
Yeah, it said that the studio loved his version so much that they didn't ask him to cut any of it. And the original script, which they didn't film all of it apparently, was 3.5 hours long. 3.5 hours long.
So you're telling me I could go play the first game in the time it would have took me to watch this movie.
There you go.
Fantastic. Searching the town for Sharon. Sorry. Sharon! Rose pursues the girl she encountered prior to the crash, who resembles Sharon. It's just Sharon with a really ugly wig.
Yeah, really bad black wig and some dirt on her face. That's pretty much it.
Also, can we just talk about something real quick?
What?
I was very happy when Sharon disappeared, and then I was really sad when she came back.
Child
She's
actors,
so
right?
annoying.
Yeah.
It's child actors.
Yeah, I know.
At various points, the town slowly transitions into a nightmarish world inhabited by inhuman monsters, including the fearsome Pyramid Head.
All right.
Let's talk about the first time it transforms, actually, because it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I couldn't really see it because you were streaming it to me, so it was really dark when she went down the hallway or like the subway into the bottom layer.
And then she turns around to babies.
Yeah.
Babies.
Those are gross.
Now, there was one thing. There was that scene where she was like in like the back alley. That was a really nice kind of... If you remember PS1 video games, they used to have the overhead camera shots for like when they had like tank controls.
Yeah.
And the camera shots they used for that part were very PS1-like.
Yeah, there was some shots in this movie that looked straight out of a video game, which was, pretty cool.
And then they followed this up by an awful chase scene where she's crawling on the floor and the camera's so fucking bad.
Yeah, it was some sort of post-processing that they did on the camera.
Yeah. The babies were scary, though.
Yeah, they were. Especially the way you're introduced to them. It was really slow at first, and then it was just a horde of them. And we also saw one of the gas mask miners, like strung up and bleeding, and it was pretty gross.
And then, there was one thing. Oh, right. Why was Rose crawling that entire chase scene? I was like, you didn't trip or anything. Just get the fuck up.
Like, to me, she acted like she got her head hit on the ground when she fell. I was like, did she get a concussion? Like, what happened?
I will say, I wish Rose died.
I
hated
hated
She's
Rose
so annoying.
so
I hate
much.
Rose so much.
So much.
This is such a bad character.
The actor was fine. She was fine. It was her character. She was just frightened to the point of uselessness. All she did was yell Sharon. No fighting capability, you know?
That's why they give her Cybil. Cybil does all the interesting stuff,
Yeah.
and she's kind of just like, I have a cell phone around my neck.
Can we talk about that? I know.
That was the one thing I'm like, that was like, there's two characters on her. She has the phone and the push-up bra that does work.
And the side character of the phone hanging from a necklace.
Oh, man.
Like, the minute she put the phone, like, she picked up the phone, put it around her neck in the car, her pendant of her daughter just disappears.
It goes into her, like,
Sure.
see-through shirt.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
Sure.
her sheer shirt for some reason.
Yeah, whatever.
And then, like, they keep the phone on her. And I'm like, okay, at some point, the phone becomes useful. It doesn't.
Right. I was thinking maybe it would be cool because when her and Cybil are near her car again, both the radio and the phone have, like, static. And I'm like, cool. Is she going to hear, like, her daughter's voice as she gets closer? I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
I think it was supposed to be that when they were near kind of like the monsters of Silent Hill, the stuff would start to static.
Right. But
the idea. But it only happens the first time. It doesn't continue on throughout the rest of the movie.
I liked the idea, and then they just threw it away.
By the way, no, we're not there yet. Because she's not in her 40 minutes of fucking handcuffs, it feels like.
Oh, yeah.
Cybil encounters and tries to arrest Rose, but while attempting to bring her to the local station, they realize they are trapped, all roads out of the town, ending in a mysterious cliff, also known as the level barriers in-game.
Yes. I was like, oh, this looks familiar.
Hey, you know what? Use game mechanics.
Yep.
I'm in for it. I will accept it. Rose encounters many other human creatures. Okay, if we're doing that, we're skipping a good bit. We get Acid Spitter.
Which was cool.
Which, if I remember correctly, that is a mixture of practical and special. There was a person on set in that costume.
You can see that, but with the minute it spits acid, that was completely digital.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And then she gets to the school.
Right.
And we get probably the best part of the movie.
Yes. Do you want to describe it? Or does the article describe it?
Looks like it's a negative.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's go do it. She gets to the school. We get her, looking around for a little bit. We get I forgot the things on the picture frames, but I know the last one's God, because this movie's all about that God,
loyalty,
all about that Jesus.
Country, something else. There was 4.
Yeah. All I know is this movie's very Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Their cross is made up of 4 crosses. That's how Jesus. This is super Jesus. She goes to a school. Okay, here we go. I asked you this while we were watching it. The vision that she gets of the girl getting like a book thrown at her, of Alyssa getting the book thrown at her, does she see that? Because that makes sense for me. Make sense for me in world, not as a viewer, but in world.
I don't think so. I think that was purely for us, the viewer of the movie, just to get a glimpse of like, okay, this has meaning.
True, but then my argument would be, not against you, like argument against the people who made the movie. Don't use the same fucking storytelling effect around an hour and 20 minutes later when you're doing your 9-minute expo dump.
I agree.
Because that is guaranteed. Rose is seeing that stuff. Rose is being told that.
Right. So
why does she not see this one?
I don't know.
It's called stupidity. That's why. It's called plain stupidity. But eventually we get to the bathroom after she's running away from some gas mask men.
Which was actually very frightening.
Sirens. Yes.
I thought it was really frightening.
We see some gas mask men. She locks herself in the bathroom after chasing the girl in there. And she opens up a bathroom stall, and it's just this strung up body. It's like strung up in barbed wire, and the body is like
super contorted.
kind of like, yeah, it's like contorted in half. siren goes off. We get the first view of how the city actually transforms, like the actual effect, which you said looked cool when it happened. And while watching, I was like, okay, Paige, this next thing that happens is fully practical with this monster.
Yeah, the digital effects of the like paint peel of the transitions between the worlds of Silent Hill and our world were really good. And this is 2006. You could hear like the tiles on the wall of the bathroom just falling, which is really cool, and you can see it. And then the paint kind of melts into the rust, disgusting color of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And then you hear the noises from the end stall, and Mr. Contorted Man comes out.
And he does his little tongue. You were like, oh, that's creepy. Then he did the tongue thing. You're like, nope, I'm out. Nope, not happening.
If I'm right, if I read the little snippet earlier, the same guy who plays Pyramid Head plays the Contorted Man, and then plays another practical effect where he's like a monster. I don't know which one. Maybe the spit monster.
I was gonna say he's probably the spit monster.
But a lot of the people casted for the monsters were dancers because they're so flexible.
You can tell, especially with the nurses later in the movie, that there were a lot of dancers. Yeah. Also, what I bet happened with his practical effect is his body wasn't bent in half. They probably had his legs behind him, and the half point of his body was prosthetic.
Right. No, of course.
That's what I had to guess.
I would be extremely impressed and terrified if that was actually true.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Me neither.
You'd go to Circus du Soleil, and you'd be like, just get one of those people. She runs, and he summons cockroaches with faces.
And they're big roaches.
And they're big.
Like
they're big.
Beetle roaches types of thing. Yeah, we don't see the faces until a little bit later with Cybil. But yeah, they were gross. And they're man-eating.
It was disgusting. Yes, they're man-eating.
Because they eat the miners.
And they try to eat Pyramid Head, and Pyramid Head's like, no, bitch.
Not happening.
I'm Big Daddy here.
Exactly.
Out here. You don't do this. Oh, speaking of Big Daddy, let's talk about Big Mommy for a reason.
Big Mommy?
Cybil.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let's talk about Mommy.
Yeah.
You see her, and you're like, hi, how are you? Hi, Cybil.
You can arrest me anytime.
Like, yes, you're in a cop outfit and like not loving it, but I can like it could be foreplay. Foreplay. Foreplay it all up. And then she takes her jacket off, and you're like, okay. I thought the leather on leather was great, but now the leather pants and this like crazy toned body, loving it more. Then she takes the helmet off, and you're like, full package, love it all.
Sign
Give me the full package. Yo, I actually had to ask you. I asked you midway through the movie. Do you think she was wearing a girdle because of how like hourglass her figure got?
I don't think so. I think it was a combination of her being extremely fit and the illusion of her utility belt, the large utility belt gives to the rest of her form.
Now, I will say, whoever decided Cybil, like, whoever in the costuming was like, we're going to give Laurie Holden, like, these leather pants. I hope you are doing well in life.
I hope you get an Oscar for whatever you do in the future.
That was...
peak.
Very rarely do you get a... Do they, like, not cast, but they, they put a costume on a person that like is really form-fitting, like it actually fits their body correctly. Cybil's entire outfit fit her body correctly.
Oh yeah, it was great. Good.
It was very like tailored. Like you could tell it was tailored for her body specifically,
correct,
which was really nice to see. This movie also had a $50 million budget, so I'm not shocked that she got the tailoring. And her hair was really well done.
Yeah, the whole package.
This turns into Cybil, the podcast. Fuck the movie. Let's talk about Cybil.
It's very on brand of us. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry, but the entire time we would be like, well, this is happening, and Cybil would come on and we're like, okay, I'm interested.
I'm back in action.
Oh, she's just standing there? That's enough.
That's fine.
Plot is moving forward. The plotting moves forward when Cybil does. And then Rose was there, and I'm like, Rose, can you just
She like
leave?
brought it back down.
But Cybil saves her at some point while Rose is running. She's like, help me, please. And Cybil just like drags her into a room. And then Pyramid Head is there, and he's just like, I guess I want to come inside.
He was pretty cool. I wouldn't say frightening, just intimidating. And I read that the headpiece of Pyramid Head was like 12 pounds.
But I also think the guy had stilts on.
They said he wore like 15-inch heels. Swear to God.
Holy shit.
It was like 15 or 17-inch
heels.
heels. Yeah.
Those are big ass heels.
Mm-hmm.
God. Rose encounters many other a young girl, the town's fanatical cult. Her mother, Dahlia, wanders the streets as an outcast, guilt-ridden over her negligence that led to Alyssa's suffering. In the real world. Okay, we're in the B plot.
Okay. The men plot.
Oh, sorry. A plot is Cybil. B plot is Rose. C plot is Sharon. D plot is Christopher.
D for the dicks, correct?
The dicks. He gets a buddy. His name is Thomas Gucci.
Yeah, Mr. Gucci.
The Gucci. The Gooch.
The Gooch.
They go to the basically.
Do
their
we care?
entire
We can
thing.
skip this. We can skip this. Like Ixnay on Christopher and the Gooch. Come on, man.
Come on, it's the Gooch.
No. He's a cop. He lived here. Here's the whole thing. He lived in Silent Hill. We get from a flashback that he tried to save Alyssa back in the day and whatever.
His dad died in a fire.
Yeah, he's trying to keep Christopher away from Silent Hill. Christopher continues to break into places with his white rich maleness and try to get answers about his daughter that they adopted. No one will give him answers. And then he goes back home. That's literally the plot. I'm not joking.
That's the entire fucking plot.
All right, so we don't have to talk about this.
You have 90% of the plot. The other 10% of the plot is he's always like, Rose was here. I can feel her presence. I feel the aura.
Yeah, he's like,
I
can smell her perfume. I'm like, cool, okay, cool, bye. That's it.
That's great.
We don't have to talk about it anymore. Keep going.
Moving on. That's half a fucking.
No way.
That entire 5-minute scene is half of this paragraph.
Oh my god.
In the Silent Hill dimension, Rose encounters the girl again, revealed to be an aspect of Alyssa. Oh, okay. We skipped Anna. We're officially at where Anna is.
I don't give a fuck.
Which means we're 40 minutes into the movie.
See, this is where the minute that they get to this point, I was like, great, movie's over. Awesome. I was wrong.
I think you were like, wow. I don't think it was you. I think it was me because I think I was just like, okay, this seems like the plot has gone to pretty far. Whatever happens at the end of this hotel technically should be the end of Act 2.
Nope.
We were 50 out of 205. Oh and then you processed what the hell was about to be happening. They look at a fucking. They're just in a hotel.
Oh, right, because inside of Contorted Man, she got a sign that to go to the hotel. They go to the hotel. They find Sharon's drawing in room 111, I believe.
111.
Yeah. So they're like, cool, we have to go to room 111. It doesn't exist. Oh, wait, it's behind a painting of a witch being burned at the stake. Crazy. That doesn't mean anything. And then they go in, right? That's it.
Best way I can put it is this entire 5-minute scene. The only way I can describe this entire kind of montage of stuff is Cybil looks great.
Cybil looks amazing. She's working it. She's strutting. She has her hands on her gun at all times. She's ready to kick some ass.
I was just like, okay, well, Cybil's here, so I can get through the end of this bullshit as long as I have Cybil in my life. They go to the church.
They do.
I like how Rose is like, so can we actually stay outside? Like right where she's like, she stands there. It's like, oh fuck, I gotta go into a church.
I was told through my daughter's drawing that the church is bad, so I'm gonna go with that.
You know what, Rose? Smartest thing you've probably done this entire movie.
Fair.
Oh God, where
Yeah.
Pyramid Head like flays Anna.
Yeah, so they're running because the siren goes
brutal.
off. They're running up the steps towards the church. All of these nuns and people rush past them. Rose is just standing there like a moron. Cybil's trying to be like, bitch, let's go. Like, come on.
Get your ass up these stairs now.
And so they get through by the skin of their teeth, and Anna, whatever, gets picked up by Pyramid Head. And what happens?
He flays her, like he rips her skin off.
Literally flays her alive.
It was shocking. I remember we both watched it. We were like, oh,
yeah.
shit.
They show the whole fucking thing. They show him rip her clothes off, then take her chest, twist it, and then rip off the skin. And the blood goes everywhere.
And it goes on them, and then the mother's like, they're witches because my daughter's dead. And then Christabella's like, your daughter was actually a super bitch. So she kind of had it coming.
She's not wrong.
Don't you think? Oh, no. Well, no, Anna definitely had it coming because Anna sat there and was like looking at evil mother, who's like witch doctor or something. Dahlia. Oh, what? God, Black Dahlia. Is that what they probably fucking got the name from? And she's like looking at her like, yeah, you had this coming to you. And it's just like, bitch, you should be. If Rose got in there, your ass should be in there too right now.
Exactly.
And so she had it coming. And then Christabella's like, let's pray.
As they do.
Literally, that's it. That was I've described what Christabella's whole thing is like. We pray here, this church. We pray.
So,
and
yeah, go ahead.
What we get next is you and I. We're gonna pick something apart right now. It just shows where our
mindset
priorities lie. They do the praying circle, and there's a circle in the middle. So the way this cross works is there's a circle in the middle, and the circle kind of leads to cross 1, cross 2, cross 3, cross 4 on all 4 sides of a cross. Christabella's in the middle. There's 2 people on 2 parts of the cross, and then there's these other 2 jackasses that are just like on a random fucking part of the circle. Like, there's enough room for the other 2 on the other 2 sides of the circle. That doesn't make sense.
Just to complete it, and then they didn't, and it was a little irking, and I'm like, wow, this is where we are in the movie, where we're just picking this apart? Okay.
Because it's so... Common sense says one person goes on each side, and then the main, villain character is in the middle.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Why are they on 2 random parts of a fucking cross? Like, they're not even on the cross at this point.
Yeah.
The 2 dudes. So stupid. So they pray, and they do their little, traumatic church hymns.
Yep.
Is what we called them. And then we go to an orphanage. And then we get the orphanage stuff. And then, Rose is like, I'm going to find my daughter. And Christabella's like, I can take you to the heart of the evil.
Just 'cause.
But just know, I expect you to die.
Literally, that's what she says. And it's like, God damn, bitch. And then Cybil says something important. She says, she's talking about, like, her, Sharon, and saying...
Is it a mother's...
Yeah,
mother's
the mother is the god in the eyes of the child.
The child.
And that's kind of like a thesis for the movie. That's why Dahlia's never touched. She's never harmed when she's in Silent Hill. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And now we get to the saddest part of the movie because Cybil dies.
Yeah.
And,
So
the movie ends right here.
Christabella, whatever the fuck her name is, opens up the locket because with the picture of Sharon in it, and she's like, "Witch, she has the likeness of Alyssa, blah blah blah."
So she's the next vessel, blah blah blah.
Exactly. So Cybil pushes Rose into the elevator. Well, before this, Rose memorized how to get to the room where her daughter supposedly is.
Because supposedly she can do that. Like,
yeah.
that's just a hidden talent that, like, we don't get told until, like, it's about to happen.
She has photographic memory, apparently. So Cybil pushes her in, starts fighting off the three minors.
Like a bad bitch.
Yeah, like a fucking bad bitch.
Well, no, not 3 of them. She fights off 4 of them and kills 1.
Oh, okay.
Because she, like, beats him in the head so fucking bad that, like, with 1 shot, she bursts his brain open.
Yeah, and then she has this really cool shot where she's, like, looking back into the elevator and to grab the bar, and she's like, "Find her," and then she closes it. And I'm like, bitch.
Oh God, she's such a bad bitch.
Such a bad bitch.
And then she dies.
What a shame. What a
God,
shame.
it should have been Rose. However, the elevator's falling, and the only thing I'm looking at is her cell phone, because I'm like, how the cell phone is moving in this camera shot is telling me how they're really filming this in real life.
Yeah, you can't hide physics. That's for sure.
I'm just like, okay, first of all, you know, her bra is putting in the work. Her bra is like, I'm not gonna let anything move. So, what's the one thing that has to adhere to physics in this movie? It can't be her necklace, because it's fucking like, it disappears halfway through the movie, it feels like. Oh no, she doesn't have the necklace at this point because Christabella took it.
Right.
It's her phone. It's her charm necklace phone. And you know what it's like? Do you ever remember, I feel like SNL or like some comedy shows have done it. Like, okay, imagine it's an earthquake and people are like, wow, yes. And they're like shaking. That's what it looks like. Because all you see is the phone like spasming. Exactly. It's not lifting. It's just spasming left to right.
So she falls forever.
It's hilarious.
She falls forever down to hell, basically.
Which happens to be a hospital, I guess.
Of course. And she knows which way to go because she memorized it. And she gets to the point where she sees the night nurses. This was fucking cool.
It was cool, but it was also, remember how we've always talked about your fears in life? You have like normal fears, like,
Thanks.
you know, creepy nuns, clowns, children, puppets, you know, the normal.
Yeah.
This movie actually has one of my really weird fears, and it's the nurses. I don't like when humanoid figures move in a way that's not human-like. It's kind of like, when they move very jittery.
Right.
I don't like it. I've never liked it. Any movie that does it, it freaks me out. Now, the way they do it is, you know, they filmed people walking backwards, and then they just played it in reverse.
Exactly.
Hence is why it's creepy, is because, you know, it's not natural movement.
Exactly. It's actually unnatural. But they were very good. The costuming was really good. And they react in a way where, I don't know, is this how it happens in the game, where they react to light?
Possibly. The one thing is I don't remember the nurses very well.
Okay.
I remember Pyramid Head. I just remember he gets it on with a mannequin.
Cool. Because they remind
yeah, great. Moving on.
they remind me of clickers from The Last of Us, which react to sound instead of light, but same concept.
Would it be shocked if Naughty Dog took influence from that?
Easily.
I'm just noting now, we're like, with how long we've been doing this, I feel like for us, it's going to be, let's get past this plot as quick as possible so we can actually talk about the movie.
Yeah,
part,
okay.
you know?
Go ahead.
Like the actual interesting stuff.
So we get some more exposition. Good fucking Christ.
Okay, well, she's really smart. She turns the flashlight off.
Yeah.
And she moves in a way to where one nurse slits all the others' necks.
Yeah,
basically.
it was really cool.
Apparently
really cool. The actress got decked in the face by one of these nurses while she was doing this. I guess it was by accident.
By accident?
Yeah, but still, I was like, oof.
She gets through the doors, and then it's just, there's this brief moment where we both thought that the movie froze. Because it's just white screen for like 30 fucking seconds. And then she's like, okay, are you ready for the end of the video game? Here we go. And you're like, oh, God. Oh, is this where we get the expo dump? And I remember you get the whole expo dump, and it's basically, here's the expo dump. Catholic cult be a Catholic cult, they be crazy. They're like, oh, no, that, born out of wedlock, doesn't have a father bullshit. So, we kill her, and then they fucked up and they burnt themselves alive. That's their story.
As you do. Then they did end up burning Alyssa to third-degree burns. Again, Gooch saves her, brings her to a hospital. She's recovering. And then we get the nurse that was checking on her, got a little too curious, and we see the results of her seeing this evil.
Also, fun fact, that nurse is a game character. Like, I know, and she's in the hospitals in the game, so, like, she's actually from the games.
When we finish the white and the expo dump, we get to that vision of Rose looking at the little hospital bed of Alyssa, and then the nurse is in the right corner. The shot, the lighting looks like it's right out of the video game. It was really cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
9 minutes, that expo. Like, it was like 8 minutes, and I think the next one was like maybe a minute, so it was like a 9-minute expo dump. And you were like, Jesus, that's insane for even like a movie, like this long of a movie. 8 minutes is insane.
Yeah, it's a huge chunk of a script.
Unless it's like, I can't get into the church, but if you let me inside of you.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Also, by this point, Rose's hair has not been shampooed for, I'm guessing, like 8 weeks at this point.
Literally.
So
I looked
every shot she's in, you can tell when they're filming on a separate day because her hair gets more and more slicked back and more just like, it doesn't move.
The grease and grime at all. Into place. She doesn't need a hairstylist. She's got Natural working for her.
Holy crap. Because, like, we get to the thing where she opens the door and we're like, oh, shit. Oh, shit, that's jarring.
The actor decided not to wash her hair to keep up with the grime and the grim of the film the entire time they shot the movie.
See, that would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that this probably takes place in, like, a 24-hour time period.
Right.
In world.
I mean,
and her hair is very obviously like 2 months of nothing.
I mean, to be fair, she has gone through a lot. She's had a very bad day.
True, but the thing is, she had normal hair, and then she comes out of like the expo dump, and her hair is just slicked.
Very true.
To the point where I even mentioned it. I was like, Paige, is her hair different?
Yeah.
And also, why did her costume change? And you're like, I have not been paying attention to any of this.
I missed the entire part where Alyssa was like, oh, let me inside you. I was like, oh, I missed something. I was not paying attention. I was off looking at something else. I was like, la, 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 expo dump.
I think you were looking up fun facts while I was fucking watching the movie.
I was.
You're like, oh, fun. Oh, wow, this movie was filmed in Canada. And I was like, that's nice. And you're like, what just happened? I'm like, she's inside her now.
I'm like, oh, okay.
That's
not
nice.
The craziest thing I've seen in this movie.
What's wrong with her hair?
I look away for 1 second.
Christabella kidnaps Sharon.
Oh, yeah, that happens. Rose...
We go to the church.
Oh, wait, Rose hasn't gone to the church yet. We're inside the church with Christabella now.
And, what's his name? Cybil gets burned alive.
That was slow, agonizing, and sad.
It was, but also, this was at the point where I felt like every 5 minutes we were looking at how long this movie had left, because we were like, it has to be almost over. And we're like, fuck, there's like 30 minutes.
Yep.
Shit. I thought it was 30 minutes 20 minutes ago, so now we're here. So, it's supposed to be a very sad moment, but as they're like, it's so slow how they bring her down, Cybil down. I'm just like, drop her. Just drop her. Just drop her at this point. Please, this movie has to end.
I know it's supposed to be agonizing, which it definitely is, and it's very sad. But at this point, I'm just exhausted. I'm just tired.
And also, I don't want to see Cybil die. That was it.
Yeah,
like-
it was sad. Okay, Cybil dies. Movie's over, right? We can go home.
And then Rose comes inside and she's like, "You're all fucking crazy."
Literally, she comes in. She's like, "You bunch of crazy bitches who killed yourselves, and you're sinning,
And then they're like,
and you're dying."
"I'm not crazy," and they punch her in the face, and I'm like, "That's what a crazy person does."
It's like, you did this to yourself. Peace out. And then Christabella stabs her, which, oof. Ow.
Christabel stabs her. Christabel puts her hands up in the air. It's the equivalent of like, she had a gun.
Yep.
She totally was gonna attack me first, so this was like self-defense on my end.
She was a blasphemer. Blasphemer.
And then she starts bleeding onto the ground, and then Alyssa comes out of her.
Yeah, it was like poison blood. It was pretty gross.
Yeah. And then Alyssa descends from hell. Actual Alyssa descends from hell and with barbed wire.
Yep.
And kills everybody. And Christabella gets evil deaded,
Yeah,
is what I said.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Evil deaded.
And then, we get to the end, and
We're done, right? We're over?
I like how they get in the car, and you're like, "Oh, it's over. It's over. It's over." And then it's like 5 minutes in this fucking house with Sean Ben.
Oh my
Sean Bean.
god. So if they couldn't knock
5 fucking
this
minutes.
into you hard enough, because apparently the audience watching this movie is stupid, or at least that's what they're trying to get across. They don't actually leave Silent Hill. They go to the version of their house in Silent Hill because obviously the smoke, the fog is still there. So
Yeah.
they never leave. So they're living in a parallel universe. They never see Sean Bean again. And that's it. That's the movie.
Oh, false. That's not true.
Stop.
We end. You're like, "Are you serious? We're ending on a fucking bush?"
Yeah. We pan to the
And-
bush outside of the house, and we sit there for a good 20 to 30 seconds. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding
And you're like,
me.
"Fucking end it. Fucking end it. Just end it. Just end it. Just end it." And then it fades to black and stays to black for like another 20 seconds, it feels like. And you're like, "Show the fucking credits. Do it. Do it. Do it." And then it finally happens, and you're like, "Great, I'm gonna go pee."
But you
And
know
I'm
what's
like,
terrible?
"I had to knock at the door. I gotta go check the door real quick."
You know what's terrible? The credits are extremely jarring. Like, they end in a way where it's very slow, it's very somber, it goes to black, and then we get like a super rock song from 2006. And I'm like, that's not what you do, bro.
All right, we're done with the plot. Let's actually spend time, because,
Okay.
we can actually talk about the stuff we like now.
All right, so let's,
Okay, here we go.
Let's get into that.
Let's get into all the good stuff. Set design was actually really good in this movie.
Gorgeous. The
This
town
movie
looked
had great set
amazing.
design. The amount of time that had to be spent in post-production, taking all of the scenes Rose and Cybil were in and turning it into the Silent Hill version had to be hell incarnate.
Yeah,
for
I
those
couldn't
teams.
imagine.
It had to be awful. It looked good too. Like for 2006, if you watch it back now, it definitely looks like it's a green screen. But back then, that looked really good.
Even then, I was very impressed because you'll see some shit today, and you're like, oh god, like it's just not working. The practical effects, amazing, fantastic.
It was when it's crazy because I'll admit the babies looked cool if you weren't looking at them for more than like 2 seconds.
Exactly. At the end, when they're all on top of her, it started to get too much. I was like, okay, it's extremely digital now. But if you're in the dark, you're looking, boom, cut here, cut there. They do look really good.
The actual Silent Hill portion where like the water's running down the walls and it's like very rustic. It's very jarring, the change, and I enjoyed it. I actually thought it was a really good thing. The music. This is the one movie where we were like, the music's so fucking good. And I remember I brought up early on, like, they're probably using the video game music, right? And you were like, yeah, probably.
And then I looked it up, and yeah, they actually were. Besides the Johnny Cash song, they used all of the music from the actual game. Amazing. Fantastic. This is one soundtrack. Because usually, you guys probably heard me before, I'm not a huge fan of the scores for most horror movies. They try too hard. But from a Japanese company who does horror really, really well, in video games or not, they know what they're doing. And then when you bring it into the movie, it adds a little specialness to it, you know?
I was gonna say, why do you even need to hire people to make music for the movie if you can just license it all from a game?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense at that point.
Right. I mean, you're already using the license of the game for your movie, you know?
Now, the one thing, because I remember you asked me a few times while we were watching it, like, oh, what's the premise of Silent Hill? Like, what is Silent Hill? And I remember I kept telling you, it's not the same. I don't remember this movie very well, but I know it's not the game, because the game is basically, like, it's a manifestation of your guilt, or, like, you know, kind of like your demons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why every time you go back to Silent Hill in the games, it's always a different version and there's different people there. It's just because it's your manifestation. In this movie, it was more of an eternal hellfire made for like these very select group of people.
Right.
And you could be like, oh, well, it's their manifestation, but like it's not. It's just limbo. In this movie, it's just very much a limbo state.
Yes, it's they're living in their own limbo hell.
Yeah.
For what they did to Alyssa. And Alyssa's like, now, because of what was done to her, she became evil incarnate, kind of, from what I understood.
So basically, from what I got, is she was split in half. There's the good half that was sent to kind of the world outside of Silent Hill, and then the evil half, which was basically allowed to like kind of run roughshod in Silent Hill.
Right.
And they don't really do a good job of describing why she needed to come back. Like why Sharon. Why Sharon wanted to go back, it never really described, because Alessa, like the actual Alessa, didn't feel like she wanted to lure Sharon back.
Right.
I don't know why Sharon was there.
The only thing I can think of was she needed some sort of vessel to get into the church to take them out. But I'm like, she could have taken over one of the miners, and then when they went back, she just, you know.
I know. I don't. That was the only thing that didn't make sense to me. Pyramid Head was. If you like Pyramid Head from the games, it's not necessarily the Pyramid Head from the games. He's kind of. And you run into this a lot in Silent Hill in the future. Like, you know, they kind of got to that point where it's like, oh, Pyramid Head's like our most iconic character, so he has to be in everything.
Exactly. So putting him in the movie made sense because you're like, oh, this character looks cool. Oh, I think I saw him in the video game. Oh, I see. There's a connection. Blah blah blah. If they didn't put him in,
he gets into a sword fight.
If they didn't put him in, people would have been upset.
But it would have been the people. Here's the thing. I don't know if they would have, because a lot of people who knew Silent Hill will understand Silent Hill, it's different for every person. So having a nurse and Pyramid Head together doesn't make sense because they're from two different versions of Silent Hill.
I think because the director was such a big fan of Silent Hill, he's like, let me bring my favorite characters in. I get to play with my favorite characters.
That's true, but then like my main argument against that type of stuff would be all the stuff that gets praised and kind of gets looked back fondly are all the original stuff that are more, you know, kind of this variation of Silent Hill.
Right.
It's kind of like the janitor. The janitor is special to this version of what Silent Hill is.
Right.
And, you know, that makes sense because that was, I would get it if everything that we saw in Silent Hill in this movie was Alyssa's kind of guilt and trauma. Like everything that she experienced is what is getting brought to life in this Silent Hill, because that would have made sense. Even if it's not, you know, the people in the church, it's still an active character who's, you know, past is coming back in some way, shape, or form. And it's kind of cool where, you know, the past, because most of the time in the games, it's like the past is coming to the person of the main character, and it's like attacking them, which would have been in this situation, the people in the church. I think it's cool that it's the person who's kind of doing the punishment, that's whose trauma is getting brought up. That would have been a cool, you know, kind of little twist. And you could have went places with that, because if you saw the flashback, there is a lot there of specific monsters that could have come through Alyssa. So the stuff like the nurse and the stuff like Pyramid Head and the stuff, and like I think those were the two that weirded me out the most, especially because I asked while we were watching the movie, "Oh, where's the nurses?" It's weird. Like they put Pyramid Head in. It feels like they're throwing everything at the wall. It would be the nurse. It would have to be here too. 2 minutes later, the nurses fucking magically show up.
Exactly.
But I'm cool with like demon spitting monster, because it's generic. It's like it could be anywhere. It's a generic fucking demon.
Exactly.
And the burning babies, the first one we see are like the burning babies. That makes sense because it's a baby on fire.
Right. And what was put on fire? Alyssa, an innocent child.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
so I get it. The ones that the trauma made sense for this story were good. And then the ones that stood out in a way where it seemed awkward were ones that they threw in from previous Silent Hill installments.
Yes. Yeah. That was my big like oofa. But and you know, I do feel like out of all the video game characters, they brought the correct one over. Cybil you can bring over because Cybil was kind of a supporting character,
which she
still
was
in the games.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think they did Cybil pretty well, like personality-wise. She was a good variation of her, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Cybil, as we can
we both do.
But even just, I like what she brought to the world,
right.
You know? But yeah, that was kind of like what my main issue with this movie was. It was just, if you loved, I know someone's like, I love the game so much, and my argument would be, okay, well, if you love the game so much, you know what makes Silent Hill. Why are you not doing that? You know, Silent Hill it's not Pyramid Head, it's not the nurses, it's not like these like iconic, like quote unquote iconic characters. It's, you know, the main character is the fucking city or the town. Right. Like that's the character of the movie. That is,
yes.
It's
even coming from somebody who's never played the games, I know that's what it is. The main character is the city of Silent Hill.
So that was kind of where I was like, with the movie. When the movie allowed the city to, like the town to be a character, I loved it. And we were both really into it. But it felt like it only let it be a town, like let the town be the main character for like 3 minutes at a time. And then we went through another like 30, 40 minutes of like nonstop walking, talking, staring, exposition bullshit.
Mm-hmm. But in comparison, let's just put it out there because it came out around the same time. 2 video game movies would be this one, Silent Hill, and then Resident Evil.
RE. Yep.
What one would you prefer? I mean, I know they're kind of different.
Resident Evil.
What's that?
Resident Evil.
Really interesting.
Resident Evil's at least stupid. It's moronic.
Fair.
Like I'll go back.
Fair.
Resident Evil 2 is like it's one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. It's also because it's based off of RE3, which is my favorite.
I mean, whenever anyone says this movie is my guilty pleasure, you know it's a shit movie, but you still love it. Yeah. You know?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the thing is, if we were like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to watch the first 3 Resident Evils. I'd be like, cool.
Let's do it. I'll grab the popcorn. You know?
We got the first one, we got the second one, and we got the one in the desert. I can do all 3 of those. It's where they get like 4, 5, and 6 is where they get a little wishy-washy.
Same.
But the first 3 are really fun. I don't know if I can watch this movie again.
It's the length that fucking kills me.
It is the length.
Just,
I would skip. I would skip a whole bunch.
It drags so much. I could have lived with this movie being an hour and a half. Most tops.
100.
We end at minute like an hour and 28 minutes, and then 2 minutes.
If it was 98 minutes, I would have been cool.
Right.
98, I would have taken it. You know what? I would watch the Cybil cut of this movie where they just cut every scene of Cybil, and then I just watch that.
We get like 20 minutes. We're good. We got everything we needed. Bye. Goodbye.
I'll take Cybil. But yeah, like I know you were about to bring up Resident Evil, and I was like, yeah, I would still watch Resident Evil.
Yeah,
because
it knows it's stupid. It knows it's ridiculous, and it leans into it every single movie. you know.
That, but also Resident Evil. How do I put this? This movie didn't know if it wanted to be like the game or if it wanted to separate itself from the game. It did not know what the hell it wanted to do.
Right. It was
Resident
leaning into
Evil
that.
was just like, yeah, like we'll bring the characters in, but this is a whole different, monster over here
Literally.
than what it is from the games.
Yeah.
And I can respect that because I'm like, okay, at least I'm going in knowing that Resident Evil is about to be stupid.
Yeah.
This one, it's just like, if you're going to be the game, be the game. Be psychological. Be what Silent Hill is. If you're not, then don't. Just go AWOL.
Right.
I don't care, but you need to decide.
It's
and
one
then
or the
they
other.
decided in the next movie that they wanted to go AWOL, and the movie fucking blows.
Yeah. So.
So I remember, you know what? At the end of the movie, you asked me, oh, they never get back. And I went, yes and no. And I'll mention during the podcast what do I mean by that? So the next movie comes out 6 years later.
Because I'm so scared of this movie also being in 2 hours and 30 minutes.
6 years later,
Okay.
2012,
Okay.
is when it comes out. Actually, you know what? It's right here. How long is this movie? This movie's 95 minutes, the next one.
Okay.
Okay, either way, I'll give you the cliff notes. Jon Snow is one of the main characters.
The actor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carrie Ann Moss is in it.
Okay.
I think who's Carrie Ann Moss again? Let me double check.
You have me interested.
Oh, yeah, Carrie Ann Moss is the main antagonist.
Bitch.
You're like, Ryan?
Why didn't we watch that one?
Maybe? Possibly? What's her name? Sean Bean's back.
Of course.
If I remember correctly, I think Sean Bean dies in the next movie.
Okay, so he finally does die.
And then they focused on so basically I know, speed up. I know. The daughter from this movie takes the role of the main character from the third game.
Okay.
She kind of gets her story. So if I remember correctly, oh God, I hope I'm not right with this one. Rose sends her through a mirror.
You lost me here.
So Rose is stuck in the fog world, but she's able to get Sharon back.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, the whole thing starts with this movie focuses, like, the main, like, inciting thing is, Sean Bean wants to go get Rose back, so he goes to Silent Hill to try and find Rose. If I remember that, if that's the thing, is he just wants to get Rose. And then, yada, 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 Carrie Ann Moss turns into a demon. She has a sword fight with Pyramid Head. Also, forgot to mention, this movie's in 3D.
Oh, God. Oh, no. You ruined it.
It also has a 30 mil budget less.
Oh, shit.
It's a 20 mil budget. And then
I think that's all I need to know. That's honest to God all I need to know.
I was gonna say I remember the end of this movie like alludes to two different games happening. It's like Origins and Downpour. Like it's the end of the movie is the beginning of Downpour, where like the convict bus is flipped over and they're like, "Ooh, look, it's the video games," and then nothing ever fucking happens.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's the next movie. It's bad.
Great.
The next one's bad.
Great.
And some people are like, "It's not as bad as they say it is," and I'm like,
it is. It is.
That's your denial speaking. But yeah, Carrie Ann Moss is in it.
Yeah, that's a highlight. Yeah.
Hooray. Sorry, Carrie Ann. I'll let you know that in 3 more years, you're going to be on Jessica Jones and you're going to be doing just fine.
That's very true.
You're going to get on JJ and you're doing great.
That's very true.
But I think we went long enough on like the actual movie portion.
Yeah.
Let's get into the roundup, which I guess is just going to be more of a rating since we kind of really
yeah,
went
that's
into
pretty much it.
the
And then
actual
we'll
movie.
we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're doing a pretty brief roundup because we just did our roundup discussion before. I'd give this movie a 4 out of 10 in overall enjoyingness. I think, which is pretty low. I did enjoy this movie, but it really dragged, and I think that's what kills the rating for me. The practical effects are awesome. The environment is great. Silent Hill as a environment is great. Characters or whatever, besides Cybil, of course. But the longevity of it was too much. It really, really needed to be cut. And the studio saying, "Oh no, it's great, keep it," was a huge mistake in my opinion. So I'm gonna keep it at a 4.
My question for you before I get into mine: if the movie was cut to like 98 minutes, what would have you given it?
If cut correctly,
Mm-hmm.
probably a 6, 6.5, maybe. If
I was
cut
gonna
correctly.
say I'm giving this movie a 6. I wanted to see if you were gonna match
Okay.
me if they lowered it. Yeah, I think it's a 6 because it's just that thing of, yes, it is length. The biggest downfall of this one movie is just it's the length. It's insane. But set design great, effects great.
Oh, music! I forgot to say that. That was
music,
like a highlight.
Wonderful. Music 10 out of 10. Like, if you're like,
Yes.
what's the 10 out of 10 in this movie? It's the music.
Absolutely.
Set design, I'd say like it's an 8.5, 9. I think it has a really good set design. Special effects vary depending on how intensive it is
True.
on the scenes. Basically, if it's mainly used for like the peeling effect slash like environment changes, I would give them like an 8. I can tell that there's a good chance they probably built their own tech to get that stuff working that well. 2, I'd give like a 2 when there's like 40 babies on the screen.
Yeah.
There's a moment where it gets too computer-like. Practical effects, I'd give like a 7. Like it has really solid practical effects. It's just that some of them kind of get clouded over the special effects that get thrown onto them in post. So yeah, I think I'd give it a 6 because the story's like a 2.
Yeah. Like.
Or like a 1.5. The story kills this movie. And the acting is like a 3.
Super subpar. Yeah.
It is. Like, I love Cybil, but that's more of a just,
Queen. That's it.
I just like Cybil. She's a bad
Yeah.
bitch. And like, oh yeah, amazing acting by Cybil. It's like, no.
No.
I just like Cybil. There's
No,
a difference.
there's a whole huge difference. We
I
know
like
what we're
the
about.
aesthetic of Cybil.
Um.
But yeah, I give it a 6. I can't find myself ever watching this movie again. I am, in a sense of like, maybe I'll watch it in a few more years when I've forgotten what went on. I haven't seen this movie since it came out, so it's, been what, 16 years? Jesus Christ. 16 years is enough to forget what happened in this movie.
Oh yeah.
You have anything else to tell the jury
Absolutely
before
not.
we get judged?
Absolutely not. If we
Oh,
go ahead.
here's a question. Because this is the first time we've actually had this type of subtype of movie.
Right.
In terms of a video game movie, how do you think it did?
That's a good question. On a 10 scale?
You could do it on a 10 scale and then just on like a,
Well,
in
unfortunately,
the field.
I've never played the Silent Hill game, so I can't really compare it to the source material of like not just aesthetic, but just the overall feel. If it got the feel correct, the energy correct, I think it did a good job. I know the iconic characters. I know the general synopsis of Silent Hill before watching this movie, before you like explaining it to me, and I felt that it did it justice. In my very, very small exposure to Silent Hill, the video games. Comparatively, again, I didn't really play Resident Evil until they did the remasters recently, so the movies are completely different. In a horror video game movie, I think it did pretty decently. Not great, just decent.
I would give it like, if you talk about just a video game movie, like if you take the worlds of video games, put them into a movie, how did they do? I'd say this is like an 8 in a video game.
Yeah, I would
movie
say
term.
between 6 and 8.
Yeah, just because video game movies, they do a bad job of transferring source material to, screen. So, since it's not the beginning, since this is season 1.75, the shit show, does Paige want to do a haunt? Or do we want to move to closing? And if we're moving to closing, I need to double check what movie we're watching next. Cause
I think we'll skip the haunt. Because the only reason would be if we did a haunt for this movie, it would be the video game. There's no way.
So go online, buy the video game real quick, play through it for like 3 hours. You got the haunt.
You can't go wrong with that. I don't want to put my little fingers on something that's already great. And try to make something out of it. So yeah, we'll go into our closing.
All right.
Go from there.
Okay. It's cool.
All right, everybody. That will do it for us. Thank you for joining us for Silent Hill, not the video game, but the movie from 2006. If you enjoy it, I'm glad. If you've never seen it like me, what did you think of it for the first time? If you ever play the video games, what do you think in comparison? Yeah, it would be nice to hear from you. Join us next time. It's a birthday special for me. So we're going to do something on theme, a horror movie with a birthday twist, Happy Death Day. It's a movie that I like. It's enjoyable. It's different. It feels cool. RJ, you've never seen it?
I'm so pissed right now.
Why?
Because I just realized you got to choose that Happy Death Day was your movie, and I got fucking stuck with Vacancy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
That's a crock of shit. You know what? My birthday next year, I'm putting it out. We're watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, Christ.
Have
Here
fun.
we go.
That's it. That's the payback.
But yeah, come join us next time. It's going to be a blast. And follow us, on the stuffs. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening. Hi. Thanks. Subscribe. Like. Whatever the fuck. And we'll we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.